Meeting started. This is the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, to be held July 18th, 2023 at 6 p.m. at the Council Chambers building. Let's ask our clerk to please take the roll.
Councilmember DeWillis.
Here.
Councilmember Duvernay.
Here.
Councilmember Karat.
Present.
Councilmember Naren.
Here.
Vice Mayor Weldon.
Here.
Mayor Lensley.
Here.
And Councilmember Palasari is absent.
Okay, great. Thank you. Please stand to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next on the agenda is a brief summary of current events by the mayor, city council, and/or city manager. The public body does not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on any matter brought up during the summary unless the specific matter is properly noticed for legal action. Council members, do we have anything to report this evening? Go right ahead.
I would just like to congratulate Tammy, our new city clerk. She did a bang-up job, and the interview has lots of new plans and things to move Cottonwood forward, so thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Any other council members? No? Mr. Douglas?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So I too would like to welcome Tammy as our new official city clerk. There was a press release that went out this last week. I'm very, very happy to have Tammy on board and look forward to all we can accomplish together. Also, I'd like to just make a couple of announcements. The public's invited to the next meeting of the Cottonwood Community Awareness Group on Tuesday, July 25th at 4 p.m. at the Cottonwood Public Library. Some of you here have been to those, and it's been great to have your attendance. These meetings help connect our citizens to the government process. No registration is required. We look forward to seeing everyone there. This week we're going to be, along with Councilmember Naren, we're also going to have Councilmember Palasari. We're going to introduce Councilmember Palasari. It's an opportunity to interact and get to know him a little bit. We also have our city attorney is going to be there as well. And we're going to be discussing some topics around the role of the city council and how the city council interacts with staff in the community. Also, the back to school supply drive will be Friday, July 28th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Cottonwood Walmart Supercenter. All donations will be given to the Cottonwood Oak Creek School District to help students K through 8 have access to school supplies. That's all of my announcements. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda we have a couple proclamations to read. And first up is a proclamation for Faith Moore Memorial Day, July 24th, 2023. And I'll read this now, and I believe we have Talon here to receive this proclamation. Mr. Moore. Whereas our community was stunned to learn of the loss of Faith Moore during a monsoon flood event on July 24th, 2021, and came together to assist law enforcement and search and rescue in an effort to find her. And whereas when Faith's body was located on July 28th, 2021, her passing shook the entire community. And whereas Faith was a member of a prominent family here in the Verde Valley, where she had lived all of her life and was well known throughout our community as a kind and loving person who was devoted to her family and friends. And whereas Faith loved to sing and dance and cook meals for her family, she also excelled at softball and soccer and played those sports on our high school's team. And whereas Faith set an example for her peers by being a strong, independent, and resilient person who treated others with compassion and offered to help whenever she could. And whereas upon learning of Faith's passing, members of our community again came together to support Faith's family and friends in their grief by every means possible, using crowdfunding and social media campaigns, donating food, retiring her softball team number, and raising money for a memorial sculpture to be made in her honor. And whereas the City of Cottonwood wishes to recognize and honor Faith Moore and to commemorate the example that she set and the way in which she brought people together during her life and continues to do so today. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Tim Alinsky, the Mayor of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim July 24th, 2023 as Faith Moore Memorial Day in the City of Cottonwood. And if it's okay, Mr. Moore, as we're coming upon our 2-year anniversary, just a quick moment of silence, if that would be appropriate, and then we'll invite you up. Okay. Thank you, Council. Mr. Moore, would you like to come up to the podium? You can introduce yourself. You're welcome to say a few words, and I can come down and give you this proclamation. Yeah. You're welcome to step on up and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Talon Moore. I was born and raised here in Cottonwood, Arizona. I'm 22 years old. You know, a lot of you people probably know me. I am a Faith's older brother. I'm the oldest of the Moore family. You know, when my sister passed, you know, I was very distraught as, you know, she was my sister. You know, we're very tight-knit and very close. You know, she always looked to me as protection. I help support her and she helps support me in any way, like through any of her ambitions and dreams, and then she'll give me some advice as well. And you know, as the oldest child of the Moore family, I just want to thank the community for coming together to help support my family. Yeah. And that's about it.
Thank you, sir. We wish you strength. I'll come forward and bring this to you. Appreciate you bringing this forward to us. It takes a lot of strength to do that, and I appreciate it very much on behalf of our council and community. Thank you. Okay. One more proclamation this evening is proclaiming the month of July as Parks and Recreation Month. And whereas Parks and Recreation is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the City of Cottonwood, and whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks, and whereas Parks and Recreation promotes time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles, and whereas Parks and Recreation is a leading provider of healthy meals, nutrition services, and education, and whereas Parks and Recreation programming and educational activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, and environmental education are critical to childhood development. And whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, and whereas Parks and Recreation is an essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change, and whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors, and whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas the City of Cottonwood recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Tim Linsky, the mayor of the city of Cottonwood, Arizona, on behalf of the city council, do hereby proclaim that July is recognized as Parks and Recreation Month in the city of Cottonwood. And I believe I'll present this to Mr. Jack Teal.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. It's an honor to accept the proclamation tonight, and it's a greater honor to lead this team in the great city of Cottonwood. If Council will allow it, and if Mr. Douglas would allow it, I'd like to have my team come up here and accept this award as a unit and perhaps get a picture with Council.
Certainly.
Awesome. Thank you. Come on up, guys.
Do you want us just to stand, or would you like us to come down?
However suits Council.
Council, would you like to stand? Okay. Hop up.
Ready, 1, 2, 3. One of those are going to work. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Council.
Thanks to you and your team. Thank you very much. Okay, next item on the agenda is call to the public. This portion of the agenda is set aside for the public to address the council regarding an item that is not listed on the agenda for discussion. However, the council cannot engage in discussion regarding any item that is not officially listed on the agenda for discussion and/or action, and comments are limited to a 3-minute time period. So if you'd like to address the council on any item that's not on the agenda, there's yellow forms in the back. You're more than welcome to fill them out, and I'll call you up in the order I receive these, and I'll queue up the person who's in line behind you. So first up this evening, we have Mr. Michael Nacito, and you'll be followed by Susan Gage.
Good evening. This is my 12th City Council meeting in a row, requesting that the Council agendize an age limit resolution on drag queen events, drag queen entertainment, adult entertainment in Cottonwood. We've asked you this several times before, at least 12 to my knowledge, and for whatever reason, it's being refused to put on the agenda. We'd encourage the council to pursue this and not avoid the will of the community. Represent your constituents. I'm not one of your constituents, you know that, but there's plenty of people in this community who have an opinion that you need to garner and then respond to. I came across a quote the other day that really stuck me right between the eyes. It says, "Set yourselves apart from this corrupt generation. Be saints. You are not made to fit in. You were born to stand out." That's an encouragement to all the believers in this community. I'd like to close with a recall petition that's being circulated around the community. We, the undersigned qualified electors, respectively petition for the recall of Mayor Tim Alinsky for the following reasons: violating Ordinance 401, dated May 1st, 2001, with respect to allowing a drag show to take place on a public building well within the restricted areas of 500 feet from 2 bars and a recreational public use ball court. Additionally, the gentleman lied about not knowing or reading about Ordinance 401 when a FOIA request produced an email to him from the then city clerk advising him and the city council about the existence of Ordinance 401. Mr. Alinsky abused his office along with the voters' trust by also violating Ordinance 1.10.010 when he refused to agendize a drag queen show age limit in front of the city council when the request was made by 2 council members pursuant to that code. I won't go into it any further, but this is happening because of a lack of integrity and lack of performance of your duties. Thank you.
Susan Gage, you're up next, and you'll be followed by Sharon Bonney.
Hello, everyone. I'm Susan Terry Gage. I have a long list of credentials, being a former school administrator in Sedona, having lived in the Verde Valley since 2000, raising 3 children and having 6 grandchildren. I'm here today just to bring to your forefront the issue about water. Very concerned about how we get water in the city of Cottonwood. I believe it's from the aquifer and also the Colorado River, which if you're up on what's going on with the Colorado River, I'm a former camper, water skier, from Lake Powell, you know that that water supply is diminishing. So I'm just bringing it to the forefront for us to consider. I guess what raised my antennas for alert was the discussion about the water tank in Verde Santa Fe. And I don't live in Verde Santa Fe, I live in Cottonwood, but I think it's something that we all need to consider and address. I would hope to see it agendized in the future of how Cottonwood's going to plan to address the water. And maybe you have a plan, I don't know. But I'm just bringing it to the forefront and want to share that with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharon Bond, you're up next, and you'll be followed by Mr. John Mitchell.
Okay. Good evening. First, thank you for offering the public the Cottonwood awareness meetings once a month at the library. I'm learning a lot about my city and its government. And because July is Parks and Recs month, let's remember our great state's motto, Ditat Deus, God enriches. We've got Mingus Mountains and the Verde River and the desert. God enriches our Verde Valley. Okay, on April 8th, the Cottonwood City Council allowed a drag show to perform at the Cottonwood Clubhouse, children present. Who was there to ensure the lawfulness of the event? Inside, I mean. Who was there to ensure no gender transitioning literature was given to the children? Who was present inside at the event to ensure that no child was taken on stage? You sanctioned an event for children, and then did you provide oversight of the event inside? A minor was taken on stage to interact with a drag performer on April 8. We all learned that at a city council meeting in the call to the public back in April or May. Was that legal? Does it take threatening a lawsuit for you to respond, like Arizona Pride Tour Christopher Hall did to you, unless you let his men with monikers like Ecstasy and Navi Ho appropriate the female gender in the Cottonwood Clubhouse, children invited and on stage? What does it take for the City Council to define family-friendly and to oversee that the performers comply with the city's rules when children are present? Were you to define family-friendly 3 years ago, would you have included drag shows in the definition? I bet not, because the standard of behavior in front of children has been deteriorating in society. If you don't define family-friendly today, what might you allow children to participate in 3 years? Standards of how to act around children have corroded over time. The ACLU keeps pushing the boundaries of what to do in front of and to children. Do you all notice in the mainstream culture the sexualization of children? Are you part of that tomorrow by not defining family-friendly today? What's next? Artificial breasts flashed by a man in drag at our community clubhouse? Children present? That seems ludicrous today, but so did children at a drag show 3 years ago. In conclusion, I ask that the mayor put the topic of children at drag shows on the agenda like the public and council members have asked. And I ask that the council define family-friendly today to prevent the corrosion of childhood innocence in the years to come. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. John Mitchell, you're up next, and you'll be followed by James Costello, I believe.
Yes, Mr. Alinsky and the council. Because I want to follow up with the comments that were just made in behalf of, well, you kind of have heard me like 12 times now, 11 times I've been up here. You know what I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and read in full a recall petition that a number of us have written and applied for. We, the undersigned qualified electors, respectfully petition for a recall of Mayor Timmy Linsky for the following reasons: violating Ordinance 401 dated May 1st, 2001, with respect to allowing the drag show to take place in a public building well within the restricted area of 500 feet, with 2 bar establishments and a recreational public use ball court facility. Additionally, Mr. Elinsky lied about knowing or reading Ordinance 401 when a FOIA request had to produce it and an email to him from then. City clerk advising him that the city council about the existence of Ordinance 401. Mr. Elinsky abused his office along with the voters' trust by also violating Ordinance 1.10.010 when he refused to agendize the drag show to the city council after receiving the request from 2 council members as required. Mr. Elinsky lied when he stated that he never received those requests. The FOIA request produced emails from the 2 council members requesting the subject to be agendized. Mr. Elinsky also displayed gross incompetence when he failed to perform his official duties in 2020 to honor the majority vote of the city council to decline mandating the wearing of masks during COVID-19. This recall is for egregious behavior. You know, you're not leading with integrity. You've lied to me right to my face. So I'm requesting your resignation again. Thank you.
James Costello, you're up next. Is it James Costello? Okay, great.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jim Costello. I'm here as a representative of the Verde Santa Fe subdivision. As you know, we have had a water crisis over there for well over a year. They've pumping water tanker after tanker after tanker. They're pouring water into a hole, and they're charging us, the city of Cottonwood is charging us a fortune for the #1 commodity that is going into the ground. We can't, as a community, we can't afford to lose this water, let alone not address the issue. Somewhere along the line, this has to be on the docket so that we can get this issue addressed so that we're not losing money and, most importantly, our precious commodity, water. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right, I will close the floor to the public and move on to business.
Well, actually, I wanted to just check with Jenny.
Sure.
It says at the end of the meeting for the call to the public, we're actually allowed to address the public and direct them to a staff member or call to agenda or something. On 2.0.10. I'm sorry.
Listen. I'm sorry, your question is?
Well, it's actually a statement, but at the end of 2.0.8.120, the call to the public, the last sentence states that you're not able to discuss with staff members during the meeting, but at the conclusion of call to the public, council members may respond to criticism, ask staff to review a matter, or ask the matter to be placed on the future agenda. I believe that's correct. So if so, I'd like to address a couple of people.
Okay.
Are you reading a portion of city code?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was the one that was sent to us.
What is your question, Councilmember? Are you wanting to make a statement?
Yeah.
You can respond to criticism. You can request that staff look into something. I don't know about putting something on an agenda.
Well, I'm just reading from the code.
Okay.
But if I'm allowed to address something, I'd like to for Tom to respond to what Susan had said about the water, because I think you're the most qualified to answer.
I'm sorry. We can't ask staff to respond right now. You can direct staff to, I'm sorry, you can direct staff to look into it and report back to you at a later date. But we can't have discussion of it tonight because it is not agendized.
Okay, and secondly, Michael Nacito, this item will be put on the agenda either the 1st or the 15th of August.
So the first meeting or
the 1st or the 15th, depending how it gets done.
Thank you. I'll get the word out.
And I guess we have two forms that we didn't catch, so I'll go ahead and call those folks up. Randy Burdett, and you'll be followed by William Donovan.
I thank the City Council for allowing us to speak here today for the 11th call to the public in a row, about 5.5 months. This is about the all-ages drag show that occurred in the Old Town. Here's a recap of how we came to be here and why. Initially, around the end of January of 2023, I and many others heard about a drag show that would take place in the clubhouse. In April, upon further investigation, it was found that it was a drag show that had no age restrictions to it, with alcohol to be served, which wasn't the biggest issue, with free HIV testing available. On February 7th, a call to the public meeting was held at the rec center because of how many people that were anticipated to attend, most of whom were there to voice opposition to the all-ages drag show, with some that were in favor of it. It was one of the largest city council meetings attended by the public in Cottonwood history, which shows how important the issue is to people living in and near Cottonwood. We asked for the issue of the all-ages drag show to be agendized so that we all could have a civil discussion about this with the mayor and city council, and that age restrictions for the show be placed 18 or 21 plus. 2 city council members, as per the regulations, requested to agendize the issue. Despite being their right, the mayor refused to allow it. This issue could have been resolved within the first month, but because of the mayor's and other city council's members' refusal to agendize the issue, here we are almost 6 months later. It is apparent that drag shows / drag queens are adult-oriented shows / adult entertainers, since those are the type of shows that they do most or all of the time. Christopher J. Hall, the event organizer, was seen on video and drag dancing provocatively in front of children in Lake Havasu back in February on the same tour that took place in April. It's obvious that he does adult-oriented shows as the norm, since it appeared like it was second nature to him. He had also threatened to sue the city if they restricted children from attending, which would be a frivolous lawsuit and defeated eventually. This is what some funds are for, that the city has for such a thing. Despite what some may claim, this isn't about anyone's rights, the Constitution being hateful and intolerant, etc. This is about protecting children and minors. Parents bringing their underage children to these shows to have adult entertainers dance for them does not make it okay. All we have asked this entire time is for age restrictions on these shows to be placed and the chance to discuss this with the council and mayor. Mr. Hall will be back soon, so I hope that we have a discussion on this and resolve this issue once and for all before then, so as to avoid this again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. William Donovan, you're up next.
Hello. Mayor, City Council members, thanks for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm an owner of Transparency Media. We record and report the population at large, the good, the bad, the ugly, within the government and society as a whole. If you have not seen me around recording and talking to citizens, you will soon. It's been brought to my attention, you Mayor, think that you have sole ownership of people's buildings, which are funded by the people. You have denied the citizens of Cottonwood the representation they deserve from their elected officials by continuing to keep the drag show issue off the agenda. The whole issue on drag shows and children attending can be a dividing issue. But you refusing to allow a vote from this council is only alienating your entire voting block because no one's voice is being heard for or against. You ran unopposed, from what I understand, in the last election, but because you decided to overrule the vote of your council and enforce mask mandates, and now this issue, I can almost guarantee you won't run unopposed again. This also goes for you, council members, because you are complacent in allowing this mayor to block this issue from the agenda. A true manager or leader would know that if an ordinance is approved in barring children from attending drag shows in public buildings, drag shows could still be done with or without children in private businesses. Any business crazy enough to allow a drag show with children would have to deal with a boycott of the business from the citizens who appall this action and would probably be forced to close due to non-patronage. This is how society works. If you don't agree with a business morals and values, you don't frequent that business. But what you are doing is stopping your constituents from having a say by allowing these shows to be done in public buildings. Citizens cannot decide they disagree with the show and stop paying taxes, so they are forced to support with their money things they repulse or are repulsed by. Your constituency has been bringing this up for 7 months now, and you have still refused to take a stand, and this is a terrible look for the office of the mayor.
Are there any other forms out there, folks? We'll move on then to approval of the minutes of the budget.
Mayor?
Yes.
Excuse me, if I may.
Yeah.
I would like to address Councilmember Duvernay's question.
Sure.
The provision of the city code that you were reading, just to make sure that we're clear. What it says is that council members may respond to criticism, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be placed on a future agenda. So I interpret your statement to be requesting that a matter be placed on a future agenda. That does not mean it's agendized for the next meeting, however.
I fully understand what it says.
Just wanted to make sure we're absolutely clear on that. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, approval of the minutes of the budget work session of April 25th, 2023. I'll motion to approve those minutes.
Second.
Okay, Mayor made the motion, Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, minutes are approved. We move into unfinished business. Just one item this evening. It's ordinance number 736, repealing and replacing section 14.04.010 of Title 14, Chapter 14.04 of the City of Cottonwood Municipal Code to require only properties connected to the city's wastewater collection and treatment system be subject to sewer customer fees. This is the second and final reading. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Tom Whitmer. I'm the Utilities Director for the City of Cottonwood. This is the second and final reading of Ordinance 736, which repeals and replaces Chapter 14.04.010 of the city's municipal code to require only homes that are connected to the city's wastewater collection system be required to pay that monthly sewer fee that has been in place since 1987. I don't know if you want me to go into detail just as a refresher, or if you would like me just to go forward and say that the initial reading was on June 6th, and since that time we have not heard or received any calls in opposition to or in support of this ordinance.
Okay. Well, I'll ask if there's any folks here in the audience tonight that would like to speak about this issue. No? All right. Council, I think we went over it in good detail. Is there any other questions for staff?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. I'll go ahead and motion to approve ordinance number 736. Mayor made the motion. Councilmember Carras seconded it. Let's get a roll call vote on that, please.
Councilmember DeWillis?
Yes.
Councilmember Duvernay?
Yes.
Councilmember Karat?
Yes.
Councilmember Naren?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilden?
Yes.
And Mayor Linsky?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Great. Thank you. Let's have our clerk read ordinance number 736 by title only, please.
Ordinance number 736, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the municipal code of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona by repealing and replacing section 14.04.010 of Title 14, Chapter 14.04 of the municipal code relating to the applicability of sewer or septic fees.
Great, thank you. Okay, consent agenda is next. The following items are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence. So we have 5 items this evening. I'll go ahead and read them out loud for council and public. First up is possible award and approval of the cooperative contract with Combs Construction Company, Inc. for library stormwater improvements. Item 2 is request to review and approve contract for biosolids hauling and disposal with VLS Environmental Solutions. Item 3 is request approval of waiver of the procurement policy to contract with R.H. Borden Company to complete the 3D scanning and analysis of approximately 300 sewer manholes. Item 4 is request for approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Cottonwood Oak Creek School District for new grant-funded resource officer. And item 5 is resolution number 3178, appointing Raymond Massey to the Historic Preservation Commission. Is there an item that a council member or citizen would like to have pulled? All right, I'll motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, Mayor made the motion, Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, it passes, and let's have our clerk read resolution number 3178 by title only, please.
Resolution number 3178, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, appointing Raymond Massey a member of the city's Historic Preservation Commission and establishing his term of office.
Okay, thank you. New business. The following items are for council discussion, consideration, and possible legal action. First up is public hearing on the final budget for fiscal year 2024.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Kirsten Lennon, the Financial Services Director here at the City of Cottonwood. And this is the time to open the floor for public hearing on the budget, the final budget adoption that will be the next item on the agenda.
Okay. All right, is there anybody here from the public who would like to address the council on the budget? No. All right.
Do we ask questions?
We'll ask our questions during the resolution, during the next item. Okay, so we'll go ahead and close the floor then to the public and move on to item 2, which is resolution number 3179, adopting the city's fiscal year 2024 final budget and expenditure limitation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Kirsten Lennon again. So tonight before you and in the packet, you have the final budget adoption request. This is, there have been no changes since the tentative budget that was adopted, so everything that was listed in previous meetings and talked about in all the previous meetings is in this final budget. It's all the same. It still has the same expenditure limitation of $154,228,910. It has all the positions and all the capital and everything that was included in the original tentative budget. At this point, I will take any questions that you might have on the budget.
Great. Council, questions for staff? Councilwoman Duvernay, did you?
Yeah, I had a question on the general fund. The very last line item is the $900,000 for the completion of the design for the municipal building.
So there is money in the budget for next year for the completion of the design of the Cottonwood Municipal Center. It's in the capital budget. Yes, that is the remaining portion of the contract that we have with Last Architects.
Okay, I guess I'm confused because when you look at when it was proposed in January 21, the budget was supposed to be 8.1 million. And then May 9th, the budget from the Last Architects was 24 million. So I guess I'm curious as to what point between 8.1 and 24 million do we decide to actually explore other avenues and discontinue the design, because if that design is going to cost 24 million and the budget and the proposed, granted it was 2021, but I think that has to be something, if you were to actually continue it and we don't build it, that's $900,000 that I know you've put in it, you don't have to use it, but because we'd have to approve it at the time. But I'd just like to know that I would like to understand how when the budget nearly triples, how we approach it, that we just continue the design.
So we actually contract with the design company for the design. They don't give us a price of the actual build out, so we don't know what that is. We're just contracting with them for a design. That's all that contract is. So that's what they're giving us, is a design and an estimated cost. And that is, we would have to probably pay them according to our contract for the design, even if you decided to not go with that design.
Well, actually, it's a 30-day notice to cancel for any reason. There's no reason whatsoever that we have to. But, I mean, personally, I just don't understand how we could even think of completing a design, what they're projecting at 24 million.
Well, and at this point, I would say that is not a part of this budget. Just the design part is. And this is just a budget with a plan. If you were to want to not complete the design, that would have to come back as an agenda item and be voted on and be canceled. Because this budget does not say that, yes, we're going to pay that fee, but the contract does say that we are going to pay that fee for the design.
I'd like to respond to that. So, Scotty Douglas, City Manager. So, staff has gone back, and we have also been analyzing really the path for the municipal center, and reviewing the past agenda items, staff reports, the meeting minutes, to really take a very close look at that. And then what we're doing also is we're actually doing an evaluation over the next 2 months to really do a deep dive into the benefits and evaluation and revisiting some of the additional options that could be afforded to council to make some decisions going forward. It is acknowledged that in the meeting minutes of that meeting in 2021 that's being referenced for the $8 million budget, that was an estimate that that was initially provided. However, I also acknowledge that there's been varying estimates along the way. By bringing on a design company, what that does is it helps kind of vet some of those options, and with the design consultants that we have now, it's an opportunity for us to look at other potential options for a build out within the building. It's materials, it's space use, it's about public spaces that could be used by the public and things like that, for example. There's also other alternatives that we're exploring outside of that are, what other options are there? And it's revisiting, the potential building out of another building. It could be using additional space or existing spaces that we have in the city more creatively, so that we could place staff and other functions that we actually do as a city. But with that, it is needed for the design work to continue to be done so that we can actually vet out those additional options, because it has been, there have been stop points along the way with the council with approvals, but because things have changed, especially with the estimates you're talking about, it is important. Now that said, the last part I'll just say here is that, with that estimate that comes from a design team, following that, and it is staff's intention to come back to council in the next 2.5 months and present this during a work session, and so that the council can actually weigh in and then make a decision at a following meeting that just really gives that solid direction back to staff that we're going to continue on a particular path. And so this design work is actually going to inform that. Although we've added another $200,000 in this budget for potential, we've actually received an estimate from our design firm that's less than $50,000 to provide these additional design options, and that's going to help us. It's going to help inform the decision by the council. There's a significant amount that's actually been invested in this, and so staff's doing our due diligence so that we can make sure that the council has enough information to make a very informed decision going forward.
Thanks, Scotty. But last thing is that I did refer to Jenny about the contract from the design firm
Okay.
So I got the information from her.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes.
Okay.
First of all, thanks for all the meetings in the public and with us to explain the budget. That's been very helpful. One question I've got, I was actually going to say I've got 7 questions just to kind of break the ice, but never mind. General fund reserve status, that's on one of these pages. It says affordable housing fund, 1 million. I'm just curious on what does that meant?
So during the budget process, our housing, I don't know what her official title is.
Yeah, it's our housing manager. So the housing manager, so there's another program, I'm sorry, take this question real quick. So we actually have a program, and there's a development there's development opportunities, and sometimes there's opportunities for the city to partner with developers that come in, especially for opportunities with affordable housing. And so this actually provides funds that are designated in budget reserves to use if necessary on those types of loans.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions, council? No? Okay. How would you like to proceed? Well, before you do, I'll just say thank you for the extra meetings and going the extra mile, making sure that we all have the information that we requested of you, and sometimes more than enough information. But it really was helpful how you laid things out. And you came in kind of at the tail end of this process, really. So, kudos to you for just running with it and getting all the pieces together and getting it before council. So look forward to building another budget with you in the
if I could just respond, so thank you, Mayor and Council, for your patience with that. I've been here a whole 2 months, so and I do appreciate the work that staff has put into it, and also the opportunities that we've had to work together to really vet through this. I think there's some real opportunities in this next budget season as well to present information in even more easy to understand formats for the public and for the council and even staff to really consume. And so I think we're just taking a look at that.
Yeah, great. And Ms. Lennon, to you and your team.
Thank you.
Especially Helen.
Yeah, she does a lot of background stuff that you guys don't ever get to see.
But express our appreciation, please.
Again, thank you.
Go ahead.
I move to approve resolution number 3179, adopting the city's proposed fiscal year 2024 final budget as presented, and to establish the city's fiscal year 2024 expenditure limitation at $154,228,910.
Second.
Okay, Vice Mayor made the motion. Councilmember Karat seconded it. Let's get our clerk to take a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember DeWillis?
Yes.
Councilmember Duvernay?
No.
Councilmember Karat?
Yes.
Councilmember Naren?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilden?
Yes.
And Mayor Linsky?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Motion passes. Let's have you read resolution number 3179, please, by title only.
Resolution number 3179, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, adopting the final budget for fiscal year 2023 to 2024 and establishing an expenditure limitation.
Great, thank you. Okay, last item under new business is request approval of the contract with Schofield Civil Construction LLC for construction, completion, and startup of the Mingus injection well. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Tom Whitmer. I'm the Utilities Director for the City of Cottonwood, and this has been a long time in coming. Excuse me. As most of you know, we have an injection well that was drilled some time back, and we've now got all the permitting. We've done all the testing on the well, and we're ready now to construct the infrastructure in order to begin recharging reclaimed water back into the aquifer system itself. This contract is with Schofield. We'd be piggybacking off a contract with, or from the City of Flagstaff with Schofield in order to initiate this work. Once completed, we will begin recharging up to 300 acre-feet a year, which is a huge plus for us in terms of our water portfolio. It will allow us to at least have some security if and when the adjudication does take hold and starts potentially impacting a number of our wells in terms of our capabilities to produce water. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have related to this.
Hey, go ahead.
Is that 300 acre feet capped because of the well's capability, or is that like the max that they'll give us, or
That is
how does
the
that work?
from this well specifically, or I should say Councilmember Curat. That is a cap that ADWR put upon us with this injection well. Anything more than that at this point in time, we wouldn't be able to get credits for it because of the fact that if we exceed the 300 acre feet in this specific well itself, we run the potential of intersecting with the river. And if it intersects with the river, the ADWR won't allow us to have credits, or won't allow us to accrue credits from the recharge of that additional water.
Okay. Any other questions?
How long is the hole from start to finish? Just out of curiosity, how long does that take?
Pardon me, say that one more time?
I said, how long is the whole process from start to finish?
This has taken us almost 8 years to do, and it's been not because of anything we've done. We drilled the hole and did all the testing on it, outfitted the well, and then we ran into a lot of snags with different consultants saying that we couldn't do it. And then ADWR, Arizona Department of Water Resources, changed the rules of the game, and we had to go back to square one and actually demonstrate that water we were putting down the hole would not intersect with the river in order to obtain credits. We went back and forth with ADWR, did a number of different approaches, developed a groundwater model specifically for this well, and actually had to run some interesting scenarios in order to get this accomplished. So we finally got all that, and then we ran into snag with different engineering consulting firms that kept saying that we couldn't do what we were proposing to do, even though we had done it when we did the feasibility testing on it. So finally, after many, many years and 3 different consultants, we've got a design in place, and we're ready to go with it.
That's great.
Any other questions? No. Well, like you said, it's been a really long time coming. This is a huge step forward for us and for the community as a whole. So thank you for your work on this and taking it across the finish line.
Yeah.
All right, Council, I'm ready for a motion if you are.
Okay. Me again. I move to approve the cooperative use of the City of Flagstaff job order contract for wastewater general construction services with Schofield Civil Construction LLC for the City of Cottonwood injection well project.
Second.
Okay, Vice Mayor made the motion and Councilmember Curat seconded it. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember DeWillis?
Yes.
Councilmember Duvernay?
Yes.
Councilmember Curat?
Yes.
Councilmember Naren?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilden?
Yes.
And Mayor Linsky?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, I'll motion to pay the claims and adjustments.
Second.
Mayor made the motion, Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll motion to adjourn. Second. Mayor made the motion, DeWillis seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.